be led, discussions led by Kafui Day. But these are two big issues. Of course, we'll look at the latest as well with the second Deputy Bank of Ghana governor, and reports that he's been pushed out of position. So yes, think about it and let me know what you think.
Yes, well, I think I'd like to touch a little on what Honorable is already.
I beg you.
Honorable is too big.
I'm not honorable.
You will be charged for contempt.
I'm not honorable, I beg you.
You can call him Bema.
Bema. I mean,
Yeah.
it's obvious. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, it's quite interesting. Let me first of all say hello to His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo and the Vice President, the former President John Dramani Mahama. This issue about national service, I think it's something that has come on the table a couple of times, and we've had to discuss them, over the years. I remember early this year, the issue of Otiko Jaba came up. I don't think it's something that we need to really, dwell on too much. Why am I saying this is because, look, there are certain people who finish universities, and for certain reasons, if they can't, they are asked to actually pay in order not to do their national services. So we need to find out, is that the situation with this woman? Now, there are others who would finish and then probably get an appointment outside and then move. I mean, it's understandable to think that, I mean, it's a constitutional thing you have to do, and if you have support from the government, you need to serve your country for a while and all of that. But there are like bits and pieces. You're basically bits and pieces of. It's a bit dicey to say that someone would intentionally not want to do their national service. Perhaps there are issues that are surrounding it. For it to go to court, I mean, then we should be looking at all the other cases. I mean, you can't cite one example and then base on that and say you would have to look at others. If you want to make the law work, let it work for everybody else. So there's that equity. But for someone to be selected and sent, and then we know very well that there are others who are at home, who have not actually been pulled or their legs have not been straightened.
The fact is that
it doesn't well.
The fact is that none of us have completed national service, and all of us holding national service certificates, we procure them under false pretenses.
What do you mean by all of us?
The national service law,
sure,
the act.
Now you're getting us to start a conversation.
Says that everyone who does national service must do 6 months military training. So far as you have not done the 6 months military training, you cannot be said to have completed your national service.
Wow.
Okay.
So therefore, we shouldn't get into that argument now.
In fact, this is a conversation I think that I would want us to hopefully from next week probably be touching a bit more.
Yeah, because that's what we shouldn't get into it now. Because if we go into it now, no one in this country will said to have completed national service.
Not even the president.
No, the president's time is different because in their time, I think it was a NRC decree 280 or something, like 1973, whatever. The national service that came into being in 1980.
When the Constitution came into being?
No. That's what I'm even saying, that law itself, if you look at it, it is not correct under our current dispensation. That law is supposed to be thrown out of our law books. You see, there's a lot inside it. When you go into it, you see that law should be thrown out of law because it's not in line with the current 1992 Constitution.
Okay, listen, this is a conversation I would want to be staying on, hopefully for another day. Okay, so we'll bring it back definitely and hopefully have you, on the panel to better discuss it. We all want to be educated and make sure that the right thing is being done for Mother Ghana. So yes, on the front page of the Daily Statesman, it says, stop the unproductive acts. And Senior Minister, Mr. Yao Safo-Mafo, he's been cautioning all of you public servants as well. The Finder captions it as $50 million needed for public sector reform. So on the back of this caution, the Senior Minister goes on to tell us that we need to indeed reform the public sector. Let me see exactly what he was trying to say. Page 3 of your Finder, Ghana Senior Minister Yao Safo-Mafo says government would need about $50 million to implement the National Public Sector Reform Strategy. So we're talking the NPSRS 2018 to 2023. Mr. Safo-Mafo disclosed that the World Bank had made an initial deposit of $20 million to kickstart the project, and that government would look for other sources of funding to implement the project. The senior minister made this known at a one-day validation workshop on the National Public Sector Reform Strategy 2018 to 2023 under the theme Delivering for Citizens and Private Sector. Indeed, he goes on to talk more about the role of the public sector. And then if you look at the Statesman headliner suggesting that there's a lot of unproductiveness in the public sector. I mean, this is no news. I remember that, during President Kufuor's time, we had a whole ministry, headed by Dr. Parkway Sindum, which had the obligation to look into issues of this nature. I mean, where is this whole thing going, and exactly what has informed, this whole conversation that has been revived? Let me start with Edgar once again. Well,
basically, I think that, this country, we got serious problems. we got
problems?
Serious problems. I mean, this thing, $15 million for public sector reforms.
Yeah.
The public sector, right, is big. Okay?
Sure.
You want to talk about the police service, you want to talk about the prison service, you want to talk about the health service, you want to talk about judicial service, audit service, and all. It's all part of the public sector. One of the things that people talked about some time back was when this man was the rector at JIMPA, Professor Adai.
Steve Adai.
He brought JIMPA out and made JIMPA to stand on a certain pedestal that today everybody talks about JIMPA. What was it all about? It was just about one simple thing: leadership. If you have the right leader at the helm of affairs, knowing why that person has been appointed to that place, the kind of administrative skills that individual has, the system would transform. If you put the wrong people in the offices, you see the kind of mess that you're having. It's a very simple thing. Get the right leader, and then you see that things will change. What is the use of the head of civil service?
If you say to get the right leader,
yes.
Your point exactly.
The point is, you don't just get up and appoint people because they sponsored your party. Okay. You don't just appoint people because he's a party apparatchik or something. Find out whether that person has what it takes to do the job.
So it means that the technocrats,
the appointing authority, you ask yourself the question: what informed you to put such a person in this office? That is all it is. So if the appointing authority knows what he's asking for, right? And one of the things that I keep saying is that it's like we don't even know where we're going, right? At the beginning of the year, Ken Ofori-Atta has come to read his budget for the financial year. So the financial year, what is it that you are expecting from every sector? How do you expect every sector to move? What is the growth you are expecting? What are the targets that you set for them? When you go to the ministry, somebody who has come, a director, somebody, even a director writes a letter, he still has to send it to the chief director to go and correct the grammar. And these are some of the things. So someone writes a letter, they will still have to send it to the chief director for him to correct the grammar. So it tells you that the one who is sitting there, if he's incompetent, why employ him? If the person is incompetent, why employ the person? Because if your memos and your letters must be reviewed by the chief director, then it means you are not fit for that job.
So it comes back to the points that has been made time without number. The facts that we have overly politicized even the public sector.
And that's
the
what I'm saying.
Why that we are seeing the
that's what
kind
I'm saying.
That's
what I'm saying. That look, if you know what you are about, right? You put somebody at the head of institution, and you ask yourself, how come that the institution has run down? How come you put somebody at the head of the institution and is able to live the image of that institution? Why is it that when you go to the private sector, you don't see it happening? Because the people who are investing, they invest to make sure they got, good returns on their monies. So they make sure they employ the right people. You have certain things you got to meet, certain targets. You fail to do it, please just get out of the system, and you are gone. Today, somebody comes to office, a minister comes to office, he says, I've brought my own girlfriend as my secretary. I don't need the one who is there. The head of civil service is sitting there. He can't talk. What is his use? You know, look at it, for instance, a sector minister comes into office. What's the name of that lady? The fisheries minister comes to office.
Oh, okay.
Then
the deputy.
You sack the administrator, and then they bring your brother, and nobody is talking. How do then you want 15 million to be wasted on what?
Well, the media is talking, and we're still yet to see, action taken in that quarters. Okay, so you're a politician, Adele.
Yeah, but
can we ever take the politicians out of the public sector?
Basically, it's quite difficult to say they'll be taken out of the public sector. What I would want to do is that I would want us to go a little backward. The issue of the public sector is not something that is, that is tuned to one particular administration to say whether the NDC, MPP, CPP.
No, I think we're having a general conversation.
It's a general conversation.
So yes, let's educate.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what is happening is that I think generally, look, you would find Ghanaians in this country. It's just a matter of monitoring and, supervision. For me, there are Ghanaians who would leave this country, land in the United States, for example, or the UKs or the South Africas, and then he would take in water and he would look for trash to dump it in. The next moment the person is back in Ghana, he drops out of the flight, he goes to eat somewhere, he drops it everywhere. It has to do with attitude. All the people you're finding within the various public sectors today can actually do the job. The only reason why that is not happening is because there isn't evaluation, there isn't monitoring. For every human being, if you leave them, okay, that's why we have something we call the Constitution. We say we have the militaries, we have the police to guide human. All of us know that it is wrong to steal. We know it is wrong to rape. We know it is wrong to smoke. We know it is wrong. We know it is wrong. But when people know that there is an authority, that if you find yourself messed up with any of these things, you will be dealt with, they become conscious. So GH1, you have a program this morning. Someone is supposed to be in this seat this morning. If the two panels do not turn up, we'll be asking questions. Where's the producer? Why didn't they turn up? Why didn't they turn up? That same day. It won't take 2 days. That same day. We want to know. In the public sector, people do not go to work for 5 days. Who questions? No one questions. People go to work and close at 12. Go to work and close at 1. Now, it isn't because they can't actually do the job. That is what I want us to get. It isn't because they cannot do the job, but because there isn't someone available constantly monitoring and making sure that the right things are being done.
So our problem is what? Monitoring. And for us, the chief directors, for instance, that you were referring to, Edgar, who supervises them as well to make sure that...
That is why they say there's a head of the civil service. Mm-hmm. There's a head of the public service. They have a public service commission. They have all these things available. What is it that, as they sit there, what do they do? Yes, monitoring. It's all about leadership. Okay? If you know that there's this that you got to do. I ask myself that question. I say that, look, yes, for instance, look at the example he's given. We know very well that you cannot litter the city. But where is the boss to crack the whip? You see, when you are approaching, Madi, these are ceremonial roads. As you are approaching even the Flagstaff House, you see pure water rubber from that 37 hospital portion going there. And you say you have a whole AMA boss. Look, let's start from even that Shangri-La area, because that's supposed to be a ceremonial road coming all the way to Movenpick. Let somebody just walk there and see the filth, the mess that is all over the place. And then you see by the tubular poles, that is the street lights by them. You see someone just takes a plywood, okay, then writes something on it, toilet puller. Then it is stacked on one of the poles, right? Loose weights. Then all kinds of funny things are all there, right? From the Shangri-La place down, you see all these things there. and you say you have somebody as AMA boss.
So the heads you think are not working.
It's what I think.
So they are not. I mean, okay, but look, the sad truth is the fact that government employs, a large number of public servants.
Sure.
Look, a chunk of government expenditures goes into paying these
salaries,
people.
yes.
So this is the situation as it is. How do we clean the system?
And I'm saying that is the leader. Why should the IGP be sitting in his office, right? And you still have a lot of new ones going on. There was this police officer.
The robber?
No, there's this the MTU boss, right? The Graphic did a story about congestion on the Kaneshie Road. And they said it's the duty of MTU to clear. MTTD. When he was called, he said he was on leave. And that was the end of the story. Meanwhile, the IGP is sitting in office, right? All the mess that was going up during this so-called vigilantism, where were people pointing their fingers?
So we have to basically, get people to deliver.
Get the right people to do the job.
Okay.
Quickly,
look. Let's wrap up on this. And
for every group of people that you find, it always has to do with the leader. Like my other brother basically mentioned. You can have a set of people doing a kind of job. We all talk about UT, and when you mention UT, the first name that comes up is Amoaben.
Yeah.
You mention Antrak, and then the first thing that comes is Asuma Banda. There have been people who have been successful. You cannot do this in the private sector. What is the private sector doing that the private sector doing that the public sector would have to look at? We all know it's not an issue of debate as to whether the public sector is probably more intelligent. No, I mean, we have a lot of intelligent people in the public sector, but we need someone to make sure that the things are done the way they're supposed to be done. Until we can get that, we'll always have a problem. I mean, take the issue of you go to DVLA.
Yeah.
You go to DVLA, you want to renew your license. So you go and they tell you go to that office. You go to the office, they take the sheet, they write something on, they tell you take it to room 2 and come back. You go to room 2, they basically look at the paper, he also signs something, take it back to room 1, and then you go back, he also does this, okay, go to room 3 now. And I'm thinking, why can't you just have a long desk? And no one is actually checking anything. All they're doing is just to check whether someone signed anything.
Yeah, that's all.
So you have too many people doing one job. So definitely you're going to have inefficiencies. We need to look at all that.
It's just as it is, looks like it's a done deal because out of this $50 million, the senior minister tells us that the World Bank has already committed some 20 million. And government is going to look at other sources to bring in the balance. And I'm sure that you'll be wondering exactly how that money is going to be raised. These are some of the questions that we want to be posing to leadership as they begin efforts to find that money to reform the public sector. Exactly what are those things that we should be looking out for as they begin this whole project. It's supposed to run for a period of, I think, 5 years.
Yes.
Yeah. So start next year, and then hopefully by 2023 we should have a reformed public sector.
That'll be interesting.
All right. Look, I'll move it on. I still want to hear from you, if you don't mind. WhatsApp is 0246 020 580 0246 020-580. You can reach us on Twitter, WhatsApp, I beg your pardon, Facebook as well. Just, include the hashtag, it's GH Today, so we can get to read your messages. Moving on to some other stories. Yesterday, and indeed, I think since Monday, we've been reporting about the second deputy, governor at the Bank of Ghana, and Bank of Ghana, and according to your party, Adele, it's a deliberate attempt on part of government to kick him out. The Daily Dispatch asked questions like him having to resign at a point and all of that. We don't know exactly what the situation is because we haven't had a statement, from the appropriate courts telling us exactly what is going on. Let me start with Edgar. What do you see going on? Would you say is the usual? Usually when you have a new government in place, because I think he was there when this new government came into office.
Yeah. Well, basically, you see, this attitude of just changing people or doing something that probably because how do you call it, you don't sing my song or what have you. This is some of the problems that we're talking about here. What is the basis for which you want to remove that man? Has the man committed an offense?
It hasn't been established.
Has he been confirmed that, one, has he shown signs of incompetence? Has he been shown signs of some kind of immorality or something that affects the seat that he sits in? Is he, has he been involved in any criminal activities or something for which you want to say, because of that, you cannot occupy the chair? Or simply because maybe he's he's not a yes man. If he's not a yes man, it doesn't matter. The question is that he has a job to do. Is he doing the job according to the dictates of his the rules of the bank? What is this business of when today you come, you say you want to, you see that attitude of we never finish something that we're doing. You get it? Because this man is doing a job, some other person comes, and as if you are putting somebody there for a particular reason. You are not happy with this guy. You've not been able to say he has breached this, he has done this or that. So it means that you want to bring somebody there for something as if for your benefit or your interest. It's just like yesterday, that gentleman was Obri Buahin, whatever they call it. Yes.
The
NPP man makes a statement, that a very silly statement, that they are getting rid of the EC boss to put their own people in the office.
I haven't heard him say
it. It was in the captured in the yesterday's papers.
Yeah.
Right? And you see, sadly enough, no strong person in NPP is coming to condemn that statement. You have the president sitting down, and you have your deputy general secretary make such a very serious statement that they are getting rid of the EC boss so that they fill the EC with their people.
I mean, since we're not even discussing, I mean, that is very unfortunate if indeed, you know,
it's a similar thing. That's what I'm saying. That. So you say you want to get rid of...
So if it is established, that will be another clear case of overly politicizing our public institutions.
It is not a question of overly politicizing. The question is this.
Institutions, thereby weakening
the question is this.
The structures.
No, the question is this. The man is there for a contract. And there are rules as to how you can get him out of office. If he breaches certain things specifically, or if there is a clear demonstration of incompetence on his part, you can get him out of office. Because one of the things that I even understand is the fact that he is on contract, where it means that the contract runs for a certain period. So in trying to terminate his appointment right now, you are liable to pay some serious monies to him. Is that how we want to dissipate our monies?
There have been reports of his, send-off packages being discussed and all of that.
Is that how we want to use our money?
So it's a good question that you ask. I want to hear from you as well. Tell me what you think. I mean, I said early on that it has not been established, that is exactly what it is. But if indeed it is established, in fact, listening to some NPP communicators since the news broke, they've been insinuating that he's been holding back certain key information that makes them uncomfortable, to working with him. If that is the case, that as well has not been established. Like I said, we don't have a statement to the effects that all of these things are happening. Sure. If indeed that is established, would that not only be fair, that government says, look, considering the way that you are working, we are not comfortable to be dealing with you.
Okay, Adele. Yeah, there are certain issues regarding this that we need to actually make clear. And one of the reasons I want to talk about has to do with checks and balances. If you register a limited liability company today, I mean, it's yours. I mean, you can probably decide what to do, but they tell you to come with 2 directors. They ask you to come with lawyers. They ask you to basically come with an accountant. It is assumed that you have to have certain people in place. Why? Just to check you. I mean, just to check, to make sure that the things that you want to do, you get it done, you pay your taxes, everybody goes. If it's left for you, things will get messy. So it's why, as a nation, we say we have a finance minister, we have a president, but there's an amount of control that anyone can exert on anyone, just so you can have checks and balances. You have what you call the minority, you know, to help in parliament, just to have checks and balances. If you have everybody towing one line the way that you want to get things done, usually things get messy sometimes. Sometimes you need that one person who will be different to just say, look, yes, it's a good idea, we can do this, but if you had done this, it would be better. Then you have something going on. Now, this wouldn't have been an issue to be discussed. It wouldn't have been an issue, but if you look at from the time the MPP won election, some of the people that had gone home, even Bank of Ghana, you know, and constantly you keep having, some of these people are people that were spoken about way before even the elections. So you made a typical example of the EC boss. We talked about her way before elections. We can't work with her. We don't believe in her. You know, she would have to go. She used her butt to take, you know, the position. A lot of issues. So when it comes into play that something like that is happening, everybody sits back and watching. We're like, okay, look, you said this. If I said to you here that by the time you get to Kaneshie, someone is going to beat you up, and then you get to run about that someone is beating you up, the first person anybody in this studio will think about is me. So the statements, just like he said, now I have heard, I was on Hot FM yesterday, and I heard Obi Boahen say, for example, yesterday that over his dead body that the NDC would ever come back to power. And I've heard NDCs also say Nana Akufo-Addo would never come to power, but today he is the president. You listen to statements like this, it is the statements that we make that makes issues of this nature becomes problematic. If Kennedy doesn't sit down to say Flagstaff House is corrupt, no one gets anything to say. No one gets anything to talk about. So we create the problems, and then we give the other person the opportunity to want to come into it. If not, if the man is doing something that is not good, first of all, it shouldn't even be in the media if it's not yet established. I mean, if it's not established, why is it here? It has to be established that this is what the man has done, and for that reason, we want him to go home. Go through the normal processes. Let's go through the channels. Let him have his own say. Let him bring in his own lawyers. Let there be a committee set up. But when we make all that noise, and then it comes to it, then eventually everybody, of course you will have the minority saying, look, you have a hand in it. If you don't, then, I mean, it's quite dicey, but you would have the minority say, definitely you have a hand in it. Why do you want to take him out? He's been there for some time now. He's worked. Is he not doing what he's supposed to do? Let him go home. Before you let him go home, let's go through the process. What is it he's doing? Let us know. It's not enough for everybody else to be left in the dark now, for us to be discussing something that is not substantiated. It has to be substantiated. Is it the reality? Daily Graphic says, is it the reality? If that is the reality, let's go through the process. If he has to go home, he has to go home. But we're saying that, trust me, they are doing too many mistakes that would end up not helping them. Some of these people, irrespective of what the situation is, I mean, he's the third deputy, right? We have the first.
He's second deputy.
Second deputy, okay, so we have the first, of course, you know, and there are other people there that are working. If he is probably helping in checks and balances and they're not comfortable with it, if they take him out, they will create more problems for themselves.
So, I mean, in this case, so you bring me to my next question, really. Sure. And yesterday I asked this question, they didn't get a direct response. Yes. Considering that he works very closely with the finance ministry and the finance minister, could the finance minister, you know, Mr. Ofori-Atta, step in to save this man's job?
The Bank of Ghana is an autonomous system. They do not report to the Ministry of Finance.
It's most definitely.
Yeah, it's an authority on its own. You understand?
Sure.
Now, the one who thinks that the guy is failing to do a job, assuming such is even the case, the best thing to do is to go to court.
Right.
Yeah, because that's the law. Yeah, you see, because you see, you can't just get up and say that. Look,
because it's a contract.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's just like the EC boss matter that they're talking about. No one can just get up and fire her. You have to go through a process.
A certain process.
Yes. So you don't just get up and say that I'm firing you because what? If it is alleged that he's withholding information, as you said, as some MPP guys are talking.
Some communicators are insinuating that.
If he's withholding information from who?
We need details.
The governor? Then what is the use of the governor? The governor who is the main man. The governor who is the main man cannot pull the information from him. Then the governor is not fit to sit in office. Then he doesn't know his powers.
Very well said. Edgar Redu, he is an insurance consultant. and of course Adele Omar, a member of the NDC's communications team. Our next conversation is coming up, and we're looking at H1N1, everything that you need to know so we can stay safe. I think that the latest really, is the fact that these children are going to be vacating. They're going on vacation. So as they come back home into the communities, could we be reporting of some likely, pandemic? These are all the issues that CAFRI will be interrogating a bit further. But I'll leave you with a quick word. So Gerard Way is a musician, and he says that being happy doesn't mean everything is perfect. It only means that you have decided to look beyond the imperfections. Something for you to think about. Don't go away.
Wondering where to find the best and affordable goods and services on the market today? Then Let's Go Shopping is the answer. Let's Go Shopping is your #1 telemarket. You can advertise your products on Let's Go Shopping this and every Saturday at 10 a.m. only on GH1 TV.
Join me, Emmeline, on the tour as we get to the heart of what makes Ghana such a thriving economy. Now, it would be a little bit too easy, wouldn't it? So how about I dig deep and get to the core of those that live here.
Yeah, so I have a hole in it, but I mean...
Who said it was easy to spend a day in the shoes of a stranger, but by the end of the day, we'll be able to see the world through their eyes?
Come on this journey with me through the exploration of those in music, fashion, well-being,
back in again, nice and close, straight lines up, inhale, exhale,
culture and art.
The Core, showing this and every Sunday at 4:30 p.m. only on GH1 TV.
Merry Christmas! And we come bearing lots of gifts for you and your family.
That's right. This December, it promises to be lit. 13th of December is our start day, and it's 12 days of Christmas.
Yep, with myself, Regina Van Helvert, and
Santa Giovanni coming.
It's very, very simple. All you have to do is to be a part of the show. We'll ask a few questions, play lots of games, and when you win yourself something amazing, you're gonna share with us. Right?
That's right. Yeah. And mom and dad, the kids are home. Time to gather around your screens and catch all the fun and excitement right here on GH1 television.
12 days of Christmas with my man Giovanni.
That's right. That's right. No, sharing is scary. This season is about sharing, but no, my mobile money number is 0.
Anyway, so make a date with us right here on GH1 TV. It is 12 days of Christmas with myself and Giovanni.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas.
On the 12th
day of Christmas, my true love gave to me
a partridge in the pear tree.
That's right.
On the 2nd day of Christmas,
my true love gave to me Ghana jollof. That is loose space, that's very lovely.
I'm sorry. There was no plantain chips.
Then it wasn't there, but they thought of it again. Yeah, I'm singing from the New Testament.
12 Days of Christmas is proudly brought to you by Oba Spaghetti, My Dear Rice, Saloon Services Hair and Beauty Academy, Verna Natural Mineral Water, Davis Palace, Blessed Child Foods, and Accra City Hotel.